Hey guys, Script here with another video, and lots to talk about today. Empire Magazine obviously did a big spread about the Acolyte, and so there's numerous little snippets that they're sort of trying to get us to get interested in this and buy the Acolyte exclusive magazine on the 11th of April. There's a lot of problems with it. A lot of the ways they're describing certain things, they're calling the Jedi an army. They're calling the High Republic this new Jedi army that's taking place just before Phantom Menace. None of this is making any sense. The Acolyte is a miniseries set 100 years before Phantom Menace, with a spate of Jedi murders, prompting an investigation into the culprit behind those mysterious deaths. Then there's plenty of mystery surrounding Amandla Stenberg's May, a shadowy assassin figure whose role in proceedings is being held tightly under wraps. Even the show's title is somewhat of a mystery of who or what even is if she's the Acolyte. Guys, she's the female lead. She's the Acolyte. They're not going to title it after somebody else. As series creator Leslie Headland tells Empire, it's a term that originates in extended universe lore legends, novels which aren't considered canon, but from which Star Wars creators often draw inspiration. It's a position essentially that someone is going to fulfill or step into. Headland hints in our world exclusive cover feature, we know that with the Sith, that there is a master, we know that there's an apprentice, but in deep EU, there's a concept of an acolyte which is underneath apprentice. Okay, so what is she saying here? Darth Plagueis is in this show. So the one actress that's talking about power and all that, I don't remember her name, she's the one that's going to be training Amandla Stenberg's character, May. She's gonna be training May. This is my prediction. So May is the acolyte. That character, I can't remember her name, is the apprentice, and so that leaves only one left. That's the master. Who's the master? Well, at that time, in that timeline, 100 years before the Phantom Menace, and I think they conveniently did it 100 years before the Phantom Menace because Palpatine won't be alive yet. He's yet to be born. That's going to be the big thing. They're gonna cameo Plagueis in there. And what's also interesting is they're talking about the deep in the EU, which is funny to me that they poached the EU after basically calling it a bunch of crap, and then Kathleen Kennedy saying there's no source material, and now they're using all of this source material. But make no mistake, Plagueis is going to be in this. If I am wrong, I will happily eat crow, but guys, it makes perfect sense, right? She's the acolyte, that other chick is the apprentice, and he's the master. And that's what's going to happen. And I think they think that that's going to suck a lot of people into this show. But there's a lot of continuity issues with this. Because as far as we were concerned, number one, Palpatine kills Plagueis. And then number two, Palpatine essentially rises to power on his own. There's no indication that there's a whole lot of help other than you get into the Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones, and then there's some Dooku and some stuff like that. But it's not like there was this huge setup for him so he could step on the scene. And if there was, Yoda would obviously be aware of it. So then why wasn't Yoda more aware in the Phantom Menace? Why were they kind of nonchalant? If all this stuff was going on behind the scenes, Jedi being murdered, Yoda was around for all of that. So he would know that there's a Sith threat somewhere along the line. So why would he be complacent in that? These stories are going to wreck the prequels. They've wrecked the OT. They're going to wreck the prequels. Okay, and they're going to wreck Plagueis. I have no doubt in my mind that he's in this, and I have absolutely no doubt in my mind he is going to be retconned or ruined, or they won't even bother to read the book about him or any of that stuff. It's just going to be, just throw him in there and make him what we want. An idea of an acolyte in itself presents another mystery. Who will that be? Of course, it's Stenberg. Could it be May? It's a lot more complicated than that, Stenberg tells Empire, which is the point of the show. Hopefully we did our job right. The show makes it an interesting interrogation into what it means to be on the light side or the dark side. Let the investigation begin. That's that little snippet. Then we have the Acolyte begins with the fall of the Jedi. It's been long part of the Star Wars mythos, but something rarely depicted in live action. Go back before Order 66 and the events of the prequels, and the galaxy was once flooded with Jedi. The sight of lightsaber wielders moving en masse was a major moment at the end of Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. But given that Palpatine and a nascent Vader bumped all the other Jedi shortly after, it's rarely been seen again. The Acolyte, though, is set to deliver exactly that, the new Star Wars series, blah, 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 we know. It's set 100 years before Phantom Menace at the end of the largely peaceful High Republic era, and it's a time simply stacked with Jedi. Which, again, makes you wonder why would they even do this timeline? And so when we know that there's nothing going on in this period, it's a time of peace, there'd be very little going on. So you're going to write a compelling story about sort of some side things that are going on? No, it's like a whole bunch of Jedi being murdered. The only reason you do a show in this timeline is because Plagueis is alive, and you're doing it from the Sith perspective, as Leslie Headland has said. Why do you think they chose this time period? And why do you think they're doing it from the Sith perspective? Because she's trying to add on to Plagueis' story. So instead of Plagueis' story being what it is, which is very shadowy, they're not making themselves known to the Jedi. They haven't made themselves known for 1,000 years. And he's doing things behind their backs. Now there's an acolyte and an apprentice, and they're going around killing Jedi and making themselves known. There's even that shot in the trailer of a Sith igniting their lightsaber. And the way that the smoke was everywhere and everything going on, it's very likely that was Plagueis, because he would be extraordinarily powerful. That's why they chose this timeline. I'm 100% sure of it. It's so that they could use Plagueis and turn his story into something that Leslie Headland wants it to be, which is in turn going to retcon the the prequel trilogy, which in turn is going to make most of the Jedi in the prequel trilogy look like incompetent idiots, especially the ones that are already alive, like Yoda and I believe also Yaddle, and anybody else that was alive. They're just completely stupid, and they knew all this was going on, and they knew there must have been Sith somewhere, but no, we're just going to be complacent and dumb and just become military generals. So they're making the prequels dumb. They're making the Jedi and the prequels dumb. In and of itself begs a bigger overarching Star Wars question. If the Jedi were once flourishing and all-powerful, how did they let it slip so badly by the time of the Skywalker saga when Darth Sidious violently takes over? We're given that. We're shown that in the prequel trilogy. He doesn't violently take over in Phantom Menace. He's slowly working towards his goals. We're actually given tons of information about how that happened, and none of it included some other Sith 100 years before. That's part of the big picture at play in The Acolyte. I was interested in, how did the Jedi get to where they are in the Phantom Menace? What do you mean? In the Phantom Menace, they're like at their peak. Like, what is she talking about? The story starts, the conflict starts with Palpatine in the Phantom Menace. There doesn't need to be anything before that. And again, it's going to make the prequel trilogy look stupid. I'm not like the biggest fan of the prequel trilogy, but at the very least, I'd like the characters that we all love, like Yoda and others, to not be so stupid. Headland tells Empire in our World Exclusives cover feature, you're definitely getting a sense that with the Jedi, the writing may be on the wall. With the Jedi firmly in charge, the Acolyte's early flickers of a looming dark side threat offers a new kind of Star Wars dynamic. The quote-unquote war of this Star Wars is much smaller, more personal one. The war between people, the war between characters. Those people include Lee Jung Jae's Jedi Master, the Wookiee, Carrie-Anne Moss's the combat-ready Master Indara, and Rebecca Henderson as an older incarnation of High Republic fan favorite, Vernestra. Together, they'll be pulled into a mystery of murder, Jedi, and rising darkness. It's one story with several reveals. Plagueis will be one of them, and new clues and new information each episode, Headland explains. It's not just a mystery that you have to find out. It's not like Russian Doll. Unlike Russian Doll, I should say. It's almost like a spiral. It digs deeper and deeper and deeper. For Lee, taking his first steps into Hollywood post-Squid Game, it's that genre twist that'll hook audiences most. It's going to get even more intriguing and gripping because of that detective genre. It's going to keep you on the edge of your toes wanting to guess. Okay, so if that is the case, that the Jedi are gonna go detective mode and find the Sith and stuff, why would that create an issue for the prequels? Like she says, how did the Jedi get to where they are in the Phantom Menace? If they just go on detective mode and rout out these Sith, then they're just back to where they were before anyway, at the height of their power and peace. So I don't see how this is going to be interesting at all, and I think they're going to retcon stuff. It's going to keep you on the edge of your toes wanting to guess. It will be a Return of the Jedi or Revenge of the Sith. Start lining up those suspects. Boy, she's got a lot of ego, man. She brings up Return of the Jedi or Revenge of the Sith, two of the top 4 beloved Star Wars films. Why would you do that? It's just like kind of ego. Why don't you just say, hopefully you guys like it, we worked really hard on it. Then there's one other thing that is really important here that we need to discuss. So Plagueis is coming back, I guarantee it. And then there's this quote, or this supposed interview from Leslie Headland. Now, I don't know how real this is. I'm going to give it to you, and I think it's real, but I am really having a difficult time finding the source. This was sent to me, and I'm having a very difficult time finding the source, but it does sound like it's probably right, but just listen to this, and let me know what you think. This is what Leslie Headland said. As a woman and one who supports feminism, I think the problem with this industry is that we are and have been dealing with a toxic male demographic that just refuses to accept powerful female roles and the stories that contribute to women, which is exactly what the Acolyte does. Apparently, this is something she said after the trailer came out and got majorly ratioed and downgraded. I think it's upwards of 650 now dislikes to 190,000 likes. So it's like 4 times as many dislikes as likes. We always expected some level of noise from a small group of fans that always tend to be very loud and opinionated. We witnessed this with The Last Jedi and director Rian Johnson, and I don't think he deserved that at all. In fact, I took so much inspiration from him both as a creative and one who handles criticism. I think he served as a great symbol in the Star Wars community. Now, the problem there is if you're saying that it's a small group of people, why is it 650 dislikes, 650,000 dislikes to under 200,000 likes? That sounds like it's the opposite. Like if it had been 650 likes and 200,000 dislikes, you'd still be like, whoa, that's a lot of dislikes. Like no other Disney trailer has had that many, like that percentage of dislikes, which would be what, like 25% or whatever. In this case, it's the opposite. It's 25% of the people watching it are liking it and everybody else is hating it. That's not a small part of the community. That's a large part of the community. She continues, though we did take in story elements from The Last Jedi and how we could really sort of respect diversity and equality. What does that have to do with The Last Jedi? Diversity and equality. The Last Jedi is just a shite movie. I didn't even notice diversity in it. It just sucks. And the usage of powerful female roles. Oh yeah, she's talking about purple hair lady. Holdo. The Holdo maneuver. I'd kind of forgotten about that. Okay. Powerful female roles and supporting the LGBTQ community. I think, Leslie, that you can support the LGBTQ community without bringing in stories from a galaxy far, far away that have nothing to do with it. I think you can do that in your personal life. You can do that in interviews. You can do that. You can even do that with some casting choices. But to represent that in a Star Wars thing is not necessary to show support. It's a galaxy far, far away. It's never been in a galaxy far, far away, other than maybe 3PO. we all kind of made those arguments. I just think overdoing it is just, people aren't going to like that. I think there lies another problem in that those that are opposed to a show like this are obviously against the LGBTQ community. No, we just don't want it shoved in our faces. I don't care about it, to be honest. I mean, it's whatever. Live your life. Like, okay. I just don't get it. I don't understand why I have to, like, embrace it as part of Star Wars. Like, and like I said, I don't even care. Like, I'm pretty sure Anthony Daniels is actually gay in real life, and he played 3PO for a long time. Nobody cared. Like, no one cares, man. We just don't want it to be, like, the focal point. They're against the LGBTQ community and are also, I think, tapping into misogyny. It's a problem that needs fixing, and something I and Kathleen really agreed on was how we could execute our support. If this is a real interview, if this is what she really said, the internet appears as if it's scrubbed it, then you're saying that you and Kathy, in your arrogance, you think you're going to change how people think? Like, for example, you think you're going to change religious people's views? Really? Is that what you think you're going to do? You think you're going to get Christians and Muslims and Orthodox Jews to accept LGBTQ representation and everything? And you're going to do that using Star Wars? That's what you think you're going to be able to do? I mean, good luck with that. Good luck with that. And that, I mean, it's not even religious people. There are a lot of people that are not religious that are not into it either. I have several friends who homeschool their kids, and they're not Christians. And they homeschool their kids because they're sick of their kids being inundated with these things, and they don't think their kids are old enough to handle it. Like, that's just people. So the arrogance to think you're going to just, using a movie, change people's worldviews that they've had their whole life is just so silly. Why don't you guys worry about writing good stories and making money? No advocacy. Like, it's crazy to me. And something I and Kathy really agreed on, how we could execute our support for many communities. So well within this series, The Acolyte, I think, is going to create a new era of fans, ones that are open to change and new traditions being born in the Star Wars world. I just don't get the criticism by some. I really don't. You're going down a dumb path. Like, look at the ratio, right? You had a rabid fan base. If you go back to The Phantom Menace, waiting for days in line for tickets, going mental before the film, people crying. You had basically this license to print money, and you said, no, we're going to draw in LGBTQ, which is what, like, at most, like 5% of the population or something like that? Not including the kids. I don't include the kids because we now know with this new 15-year study that most kids, almost all of them, completely grow out of it by the time they get to be 20 years old, which is, of course, many psychologists have been saying for years, but nobody was listening to them. So I don't include the kids. If you just look at adults, I can't be more than 5%. I think it's below that. So if that's your goal, I think there were a lot of gays and lesbians and stuff that really liked Star Wars before Disney took it over. I'm sure of it. That there were gay people that enjoyed Star Wars. I don't think they needed you to advocate on their behalf for them to like Star Wars. And then that's the audience you're going for, but you're going to potentially alienate a lot of other people. I don't think that makes any sense business-wise. And again, I go back to this whole board members not being changed and everything remaining the same, and Iger and Kennedy, and what are they thinking? They're imploding their own IPs with these really crazy ideas. I just don't get it. And again, if you're gay, please let me know. Like, did you really need Leslie Headland and Kathleen Kennedy to foist homosexuality into Star Wars to like it? Can you confirm, am I crazy to think that you didn't need that and that you liked it anyway? I don't know. I think it just stems from those that are entitled and posing as fans that really don't understand Star Wars truly. We had to make sure that we didn't revisit the tradition formats that were created by George to really make this series feel powerful and original. Wait, whoa. We had to make sure we didn't revisit the traditional formats that were created by George to make this series feel powerful and original. And I'm sure many Loud fans are going to have a problem with that, but we also wanted to reimagine the expanded universe since I'm like a huge fan of all of the books that George endorsed well over 20 years ago. Is there lots of LGBTQ in that? I guess that's what she's saying. There isn't enough of it, so they're gonna have to put it in these shows. I guess that's what she's saying. Again, I think people like Star Wars the way it was. I don't think you needed to do that. 20 years ago just gave us endless source material to work with. The books that George endorsed, endless source material to work with. According to Kennedy, there wasn't any when they first bought Star Wars. Endless source material to work from or cherry pick from and implement it into our story in a new way. In other words, we're going to take other people's ideas and we're going to twist them and do what we want. Plagueis, I'm telling you, it's Plagueis. They're going to change him. It's Plagueis is one of the things they're going to do. They're going to cherry pick it, like she said, cherry pick it and implement it in their own way. Imagine being those EU writers, and that's what they're doing to your stuff that you made. Like, you wrote all those books, you loved them, you were passionate, and then these losers come out and cherry pick your ideas and then twist them into what they want because they can't think of anything themselves. Oh, that's like so cringe and just implement into our story in a new way that fits the narrative of whatever social thing they're trying to do. This is also something that Kathy brought up to my attention of how important it was to use the EU as a template. I know some fans call it Legends, but yeah, it was such a thrill to handle all the Loud fans I think are going to be proven wrong with their criticism of the show. It's the same Kathleen Kennedy who made it Legends and then said they had no source material. Like, it's like amateur hour. I think these are the types of fans that don't understand the process of letting the product speak for itself, something Kathy and Bob over at Disney love to always discuss, because you should never judge a book by its cover. We're not judging it by its cover. You put out a trailer, and we're nitpicking the trailer. We're looking at, there's Sith in it. Oh, there's Jedi being murdered in it. Oh, all this stuff that doesn't jive with what we learned from the prequel trilogy. We're just taking what you gave us. Never judge a book by its cover. I think our teaser was produced perfectly, and we have some new footage coming very soon, and I think is going to show our support for different communities. Why don't you just support making good stories in Star Wars? They have it so backwards. And you know what the pathetic thing is if they did implement some stuff that involves whatever LGBTQ or whatever else, if you do it in a good way, like in a story-wise way that flows properly and doesn't feel forced, most people don't care. They really don't. It's just that you're openly telling us you're forcing the issue. And you're not working it into the story. You're working the story around it. That's the problem. That's the best way to put it. The story comes first. Show our support for different communities. She goes on to say, sometimes in order to make a Star Wars story with originality, you have to shift away from the burden of Lucas's philosophy. I know Ryan with The Last Jedi attempted to do that by making balance equal light and equal dark, which is totally not what balance in the Force is. I have videos, I have quotes from George Lucas. With The Last Jedi attempted to do that, but I think we found a right way to handle that to the public. We are changing the meaning of what it means to be good or bad. And it's so empowering now, guys. I can only imagine what they are about to do here. I think... And it's so empowering. It's so empowering to blur the lines between good and evil in an IP that was based on clear lines. Go watch any George Lucas interview about Star Wars. These people are crazy. So the bottom line is, to summarize, they're going to make they're retconning the prequel trilogy. It's not going to make any sense anymore. Lines of dialogue and things like that, just like they did to the OT. I am 99% sure Plagueis is the master behind all of this. They're going to cherry pick, as she says it, him, and then change the story to how they want. There's going to be a heavy dose of advocacy in this show, which, again, they're revolving the show around the advocacy, not the advocacy around the show, which, of course, is going to be an absolute disaster. And she's attacking fans and acting like it's a small percentage of people when the ratio makes it very clear it's a large percentage of people that are not interested in this type of propaganda anymore. We just want good stories. All those other things we don't really care that much as long as the story's good and if you can write it in smoothly and not force the issue, but that's what they're doing. And again, they're going to ruin Plagueis 100%, and they're going to ruin the prequel trilogy in terms of making lines of dialogue off-putting and dumb. Let me know in the comment section what you think. This is crazy. This whole show is just a disaster waiting to happen. And let me know in the comment section what you think about all these issues. This was a big video, but I wanted to get it all done in one shot today. I didn't want to put out 5 different videos. I know lots of guys do that, but I just didn't want to do that. So like I said, let me know in the comment section. If you do like this content, please like and subscribe. Always helps the channel, and have yourselves a really good day.